For the installation, you need a hammer, gripping pliers for the couplers and terminals, and side-cutting pliers for the wires. Prepare a ground plan of the garden in order to find the best place for the station. The place should be shady. And level, so that the mower can drive into the station easily. Of course, nothing happens without power. The nearest power outlet can be a maximum of 5 meters away. First, position the base plate so that the back points to the edge of the grass. By the way, those small holes are there so that any water can drain. I only have to clip in the charging unit from the top. So, connect the power supply to the charging station with a low voltage cable and plug the power supply into the power outlet. Switch on the main switch of the robotic mower and now push it into the charging station to be charged. And here is something quite important. The screws for fastening the charging station to the ground are used right at the end, so that there is still some leeway when the station is completely installed. You are now finished with the charging station for the time being. Now it's time to lay the wires so that the mower doesn't fall into the pond or take off on its own or the like, and so that it can always find its station. There is a boundary and guide wire as well as fastening pegs. Stake out the mowing area with the boundary wire. As soon as the mower comes close to the wire, it gets a signal from it. Then it turns and continues mowing in another direction. The other wire, the guide wire, shows the robot the way to the charging station when the battery is empty. However, the guide wire can be used to specifically guide the robot into certain areas in the garden. Before you really get started laying the wire, there's something quite important. The guide and boundary wires have to be connected at a location at the other end of the garden. In my case, it will be here. The boundary wire comes first. Start with the charging station. Secure it with 50 centimeters of additional wire, so that everything fits at the end. With the ruler, it's super easy to keep the right distance. Use 35 centimeters in front of solid walls so that the mower doesn't bump into it when it turns. On the other hand, a distance of 30 centimeters is enough for flower beds in gravel paths. But don't use any less. Otherwise, the mower might drive over the edge and get stuck. In addition, it's important for the flower bed or gravel path to be at the same level or lower than the mowing surface. Otherwise, the blades may be damaged. 10 centimeters is sufficient for paths or flagstones and so on. You see, the mower currently turns around on the path and cuts the grass right to the edge. If the path or flagstones are actually placed in the grass, then you can simply let the robot drive over it. Once again, keep 35 centimeters away from the pond and also protect it with a 15 centimeter high barrier. Simply hammer in the pegs every 70 centimeters. Then pull the wire until it's smooth. Secure the wire additionally on the uneven places. The wire really has to lie directly and flat on the ground so that the mower doesn't break anything when it drives over it. You can also bury the wire up to 20 centimeters deep in the ground. In any case, the grass will soon grow over it. Also surround individual obstacles. When laying the wire to an obstacle, don't hammer in the peg completely. That way, you can secure the wire with the same peg on the return path. Oh yeah, when going around an obstacle, start with the side from where the wire comes. This is important so that the wire is not crossed over. That shouldn't happen under any circumstances, otherwise there will be trouble later on. Use the same pegs on the return path. The start and the end of the circle should be as close as possible to each other. Then the signals from the wire cancel each other out. Otherwise, the mower would perceive the wire at the position as a boundary and not mow over it. The mower recognizes quite a bit, even without a boundary. If it bumps into something, it simply turns around. If the tree has visible roots, then it might happen that the mower gets snagged or gets stuck on them. at the end. At the place where you plan to connect the boundary and guide wires, there is one thing you shouldn't forget. Lay a 10 centimeter loop. Leave around 50 centimeters of extra wire at the charging station for the connection. The guide wire comes after the boundary wire. With it, you can specifically direct the mower to the remote areas of the garden, and it shows the mower the way back to the charging station when the timer gives the command or the battery is empty. Here are a few tips in advance. Lay the wire diagonally on slopes so that the mower can mow there optimally as well. And also so that you can safely guide the robotic mower to secluded areas. You then set the remote starting points along the guide wire. That way, the robotic mower knows how often it has to mow remote areas in the garden. So, right from the start. First of all, thread the wire in the designated channel under the ground plate and lead it straight out by at least 1 meter. Then lay it using the pegs to the planned connection point with the boundary wire. At places where it is narrow and the mower orientates itself by the guide wire when passing through, make sure that the guide wire is 20 centimeters away from the boundary wire on the left when looking from the charging station, and at least 40 centimeters on the right. On the right, however, the more the better. At the connection point, cut the guide wire and then cut the previously laid boundary wire on the loop. Then connect the ends of the 3 wires in the white-blue coupler. To do this, insert the 3 ends into the holes in the coupler as far as they will go and then squeeze it together with pliers. It's important to squeeze the coupler together here very tightly, otherwise the connection might not be made. The charging station would then start flashing. By the way, the coupler is filled with grease to make it weatherproof. Finally, secure everything with pegs. By the way, there are many possible examples in the operator's manual for garden shapes with corresponding instructions and tips for the installation. Hard to believe, but that was it for laying the wires. Now, the wires have to be connected to the charging station. The easiest way is to briefly disconnect the charging unit from the station once again. That makes connecting more convenient. For the connection, take the 50 centimeters of the wire that you left earlier as leeway, hold it on the contacts with a small loop, and cut off what is too much. Then put a connector on each end and squeeze it together. And make sure to push the right wire into the right terminal. This means the left boundary wire goes on the left, the guide wire goes in the middle, and the right boundary wire goes on the right. Push the ends of the wires in really well and squeeze all the terminals together firmly, otherwise there will not be a connection. Afterwards, clip the charging unit back into the station and finally anchor the station to the ground with the screws. To test whether everything is right, just look to see if the LED of the charging station is glowing green. If it is glowing otherwise or flashing, then you can find some advice in the operator's manual. But before I can let the robot mow the lawn, I still have to clean up everything that can interfere, such as the garden hose, garden tools, kids' toys, balls, and all other obstacles. Then put the mower in the charging station. All the necessary settings are taken care of quickly with the startup wizard. Really, anyone can do it, even programming the mowing plan. If you want, you can set the mower exactly to meet your requirements. Details on this can be found in the operator's manual. First of all, set the cutting height to 5 so that the mower doesn't damage the wire as long as it's not being grown over. Then reduce the cutting height after a few days. By the way, before the first mowing, the mower also checks once again whether everything has been done correctly. To do this, it calibrates itself, runs to the end of the guide wire, and then starts mowing automatically. Then check the mower yourself. Will it find its way back to the station? To do this, position it around 3 meters away from the guide wire in the direction of the guide wire. Then press the mode button and select Park. Start. The mower follows the guide wire to the station. Yay! Everything looks good. Nevertheless, still keep an eye on the mower when it is working at the beginning and readjust the wire if need be.